During a siege, being first on the wall meant almost certain death. One wrong step and you fall. One right step and you climb straight into a killing zone. And yet men still raced to be first. The climb was brutal, the danger was obvious, and the wall itself turned every movement into a gamble. Below, the army waits. Above, the defenders stand ready. Between them is a narrow path where survival is never guaranteed. Because in the ancient world, being the first man on the wall could mean the difference between obscurity and immortality. To modern eyes, that seems irrational. Why would anyone want to be the first man up a siege ladder? Why would a soldier choose the spot where he is most exposed, most visible, and most likely to die? The answer is not simple, because ancient warfare was not built around modern ideas of safety, fairness, or survival. It was built around honor, ambition, reputation, and the brutal reality that sometimes one man's action could decide the fate of an entire city. In a siege, the wall was everything. It was the line between victory and failure, between the attackers outside and the defenders inside. If you could get a man over that wall, even just one man, you could change the entire battle. That is why armies were willing to reward the first climber so heavily. They needed someone brave enough to do the impossible. An example is the Siege of Gergovia, 52 BC. Caesar is fighting Vercingetorix, and one Roman centurion is about to do something so bold it gets written into history. His name is Lucius Fabius. He is not a random soldier, he is a centurion, a senior officer trusted to lead men in the most dangerous moments. He knows that the first man over is also the most likely to die. And yet, he declares openly among his company that he will not allow anyone to go up the wall before him. He says it because he is driven by the rewards. For a centurion like Lucius Fabius, being first over the wall could mean promotion, a larger share of the spoils, special favor from the commander, a reputation that could last for generations, and the grand prize, the corona muralis. In Rome, military success was tied directly to social status. A man who proved his courage in battle could rise politically, win supporters, and lift his entire family higher in society. That is why the reward system was so powerful. Lucius Fabius makes his move. 3 of his men lift him up, boosting him onto the wall so he can be first. He grabs the battlements, pulls himself up, and stands on the enemy wall while arrows and stones crash around him. He is exposed, vulnerable, and completely in the line of fire. Then, he helps his comrades up. One by one, he pulls his fellow soldiers over the wall after him. He's not just racing for personal glory, he is leading the breach. But Gergovia is a deadly place, and the Romans are in a very bad position. Soon, Lucius Fabius and the men who climbed with him are surrounded. They are cut down, and in the final humiliation, their bodies are thrown from the wall. He died trying to be first. Yet his story is still with us because Caesar himself recorded it. He became the example of a man who was willing to risk everything for the chance at glory. Lucius Fabius shows us exactly why soldiers were motivated to climb the siege ladder first. Roman society was built around military achievement. Political power and military success were closely connected. The men who governed Rome were usually the same men who led armies, or at least came from families whose status had been built through war. A man who proved himself in battle could improve his reputation, win supporters, and push his family higher in the social order. The Romans had a word for that kind of excellence: virtus. Virtus meant bravery, manliness, strength, and excellence under pressure. It was one of the core values of Roman elite culture. A man was expected to show it in public, especially in war. The battlefield was one of the few places where a young aristocrat could prove that he deserved authority. That is why military decorations mattered so much. A dona, or military award, was not just a symbol of courage, it was public proof that a man had done something worthy of admiration. And the corona muralis was one of the best of them. If you won it, you were not just a soldier anymore. You were a story. You were a name people repeated. You were the man who had gone first. That was the reward, but the danger was far more immediate. Climbing a siege ladder was one of the most exposed acts in ancient warfare. A soldier had to haul himself upward with almost no protection. A siege was expensive. It consumed time, food, manpower, and morale. The longer an army stayed outside a city, the more vulnerable it became to disease, counterattack, or the arrival of enemy reinforcements. A successful breach could save weeks of effort. It could end a campaign before it dragged on too long. That meant the first man to reach the wall could alter the outcome of the entire war. Another example comes from the Roman siege of New Carthage in 209 BC. Scipio Africanus was commanding the Roman forces in Spain and knew he needed a victory quickly. New Carthage was a strong, fortified city, and a long siege would be expensive, dangerous, and potentially disastrous. The Romans attacked first from the east and south, but the assault failed. Most commanders would have stopped there and regrouped. Scipio did the opposite. He launched a second attack on the same day. The decision was ruthless, but it was also brilliant. The defenders had already used up much of their ammunition, and they were already exhausted from the first assault. They were under pressure and not expecting another major push so soon. Scipio used that moment to his advantage. While the defenders were focused elsewhere, he sent 500 of his best men around the north side and onto the wall by surprise. The move worked. The city was breached, the defenders were overwhelmed, and New Carthage fell. Afterward, two men argued over who had been first onto the wall. Quintus Trebellius, a centurion, and Sextus Digitus, a marine, both claimed the honor. The dispute became so serious that Scipio had to appoint arbiters to decide it. In the end, both men were awarded the corona muralis, the mural crown, showing how much value the Romans placed on being first. The corona muralis was one of the most prestigious military awards in the Roman world. It was a golden crown shaped like a wall with battlements. It was awarded to the soldier who first scaled an enemy fortification and survived long enough for the deed to be confirmed. It was rare, difficult to earn, and deeply respected. In some ways, it was the military equivalent of being immortalized. The man who received it had done something nearly impossible. He had broken through a city's defenses under enemy fire, reached the top, and survived the moment that killed most others. And in Rome, that mattered far beyond the battlefield. The Romans were masters at that kind of motivation. They turned danger into glory. They made the most dangerous acts the most honored acts. They understood something simple but powerful. Soldiers will do extraordinary things if they believe the reward is extraordinary too. Roman historians describe soldiers pushing forward through wounds and missiles, trying to outdo one another in the assault. That kind of competition tells us a lot about the Roman military mindset. Courage was not just expected, it was measured, it was compared, it was judged in public. A soldier did not merely want to survive the battle, he wanted to be the man everyone remembered afterward. Even if the crown itself was symbolic, the reward attached to it was very real. A decorated soldier could become famous. He could gain money and favor. His family would gain prestige too. In Roman culture, honor did not belong only to the individual. It spread outward to everyone connected to him. That is why these acts mattered so much. A single moment of courage could affect a family's future for generations. That made the siege ladder more than a military tool. It was a test of character, a shortcut to status, and in some cases, a ticket into history.